Hello, my name is Katie and welcome to the first of my videos on how to fill out an Understanding by Design template. In this video, we will go over stage number 1 and its components. Stage number 1 of the UBD method is the stage in which one identifies the desired results for their unit. This stage of the UBD design also includes basic course and unit information, identification of professional organizations related to the unit, selection of competencies and standards, and the development of transfer, meaning, and acquisition goals. Stage number 1 of the Understanding by Design method focuses on identifying the desired results. This is really where the backwards design idea gets its name, because here in stage 1, the very first thing we will establish is the end result of the entire unit. So the very first thing in stage 1 is the course and unit summary. The course section here is just some very basic information about the environment in which the class or the unit will be taught. It just includes things like what subject are you teaching and to whom will this class or unit be taught? What kind of organization or school is it a part of? The most important part for our purposes would include the textbook for class or the links to online resource material. So what materials are you using as your references to really guide the lessons that are a part of your class or unit? Next, we have the unit information. This is the basics. It includes the unit title, how long the unit's going to be. Something to keep in mind, though, is that the unit's a very small part of the larger class or course, so it should only be a session or two. And then where does it fit into that class? Is it the beginning or the end or somewhere in between? Last but not least, what is the format of the class? How is this content going to be delivered? Is it face-to-face or blended or online? Then you have the course design. So that answers questions like why are you developing this course? How long is the course going to be? And what is your relationship to the content of the course? Are you an expert? Are you going to be instructing? Or are you designing the course for someone else? Next, we have the unit summary. This includes the unit overview, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a basic explanation of what the unit's about and the big idea of the unit. This is your reason for teaching the unit. Why is it important? Why should it be taught? Why should students or organizations or schools care to have it in the curriculum or the class? It's not important for this to be fancy or long. It should be simple, but keep it inspired. Next is the professional organizations for content. This is where you can list organizations that are authorities on the subject you're teaching. These organizations can be schools, national associations, or respected corporations. And here you can list those organizations with a link to their website and also a link to their defined competencies or standards that we'll use for the rest of stage 1. Next, the standards and competencies. So standards and competencies are essentially statements that have been taken from these professional organizations you listed above that list specific criteria, abilities, or knowledge that have been identified for their value. A lot of schools and organizations have their own set of competencies, so really this comes down to determining which competencies best fit your unit. So you're going to put the code here on the left side and the text of the competency on the right. When choosing your competencies, it's always important to choose the most specific piece of that standard, meaning if the competency is listed as number 1 followed by parts A, B, and C, you should select competency number 1A or number 1B as the most specific selection. Now that we have our standards, you'll begin to write the actual goals you have for the students at the end of the unit. The first one of these is transfer. Transfer focuses on the eventual autonomous use of a student's learning in unfamiliar circumstances. In simplified terms, why should students learn this and what will they be able to use it for or do with it? So transfer goals, as you develop here, give the standards long-term purpose. Transfer goals are written in a sentence form that start with students will be able to use their learning independently too, and then you will complete that sentence. As it's placed on the page, you have the transfer codes on the left. In the center is where you will write out the transfer goal itself, and on the far right is where you'll have your competency codes. Keep in mind that you may have multiple competency codes for most, if not all, of the goals you write throughout stage 1. The next kind of goal is meaning goals. Meaning is made up of essential questions and understandings. So meaning can sometimes be confused with transfer. However, transfer is about how information will be used. Meaning, on the other hand, is more similar to the finding of a moral of a story. So meaning is rarely obvious to students, and it is something they must discover for themselves. So, because of this, they can often fall prey to misconceptions, and this is something you should keep in mind when you get to stage number 3. The first of the two kinds of meaning goals are the essential questions. Essential questions are written in a question format and are meant to be thought-provoking and should stimulate inquiry, meaning-making, and transfer. Essential questions do not have defined right or wrong answers, and no matter how many times they're asked, they cannot be resolved. As part of UBD, essential questions should be the provocative questions that consistently come up when thinking about your subject or unit. Like with transfer goals, the question code is on the left. You'll type your essential question in the center and indicate on the far right which competency codes each question addresses. The other kind of meaning goals are understandings. These goals come back to the big idea of the unit. Here, you will write out what concepts you want students to discover. Understandings are written in sentences that begin with the phrase, "Students will understand that." Understandings, sometimes called enduring understandings, should be realizations that will stay with students long after the unit and class have ended. Understanding codes are on the left, your understanding goals will be in the center, and the competency codes are on the right. Acquisition refers to the foundations of how most people think about learning. Separated into two kinds of goals, knowledge and skills, the acquisition section identifies the fundamental facts, concepts, and capabilities students need in order to achieve the higher order thinking skills defined by meaning and transfer goals. Acquisition goals tend to be shorter term and are more directly teachable in that the content can be told or shown to students rather than relying on student inferences. Something important to remember, however, is that not all knowledge and skills used or acquired in a unit should be included here. Choose only the ones that are most directly related and important to your unit. Only include the knowledge and skills you plan to assess in Stage 2 and directly address in Stage 3. Both the knowledge and skills goals are written in statements that begin with, "Students will know that," or "Students will be skilled at." As before, your goal codes are written on the left, your goal will be written in the center, and the addressed competency codes will be on the right. Thanks for watching this video tutorial on how to fill out the stage number 1 section of the Understanding by Design template. For more information about Understanding by Design, be sure to check out my videos about stage number 2 and stage number 3.